For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise. And you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in on your podcast app and whatever you're listening. That's the bottom line. Our executive producer, Bonnie Winters, will be joining us today. You all really got a kick out of our dialogue back and forth, our conversations. And so Bonnie is going to be joining us for the show, for the entire show today. And I had my first run-in, my first coronavirus-related run-in with people at a store. Before you jump to conclusions, I'm not saying that I caught coronavirus. I didn't contract it. I didn't test positive. You've seen those idiots that are on social media that aren't social distancing, not wearing a mask, and they're getting confronted. I very discreetly confronted two women while I was in line at the store the other day. I'm going to tell that story coming up in just a bit. And Bonnie is going to talk about her addiction to baking. A lot of people took up baking once corona shutdowns started, and she's an early riser. I'm not going to tell you how old she is, but she's a grandma, and so she's old. She gets up way too early. I'm the exact opposite. I'm going to tell you about my Monday morning ritual coming up as well, and it's all on The Scribble, and it starts right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched, and who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back at the controls, and our fearless executive producer, Bonnie Winters, is joining us. And, Bon, we're going to have a discussion. We're going to start out the conversation with something that hasn't been said in many, many years. Let's talk about Bonnie's eggs. So, you were just baking.
I was. Uh-huh.
How often do you bake now? Not just because of lockdown, but because of your age and all that other stuff.
I bake almost every other day.
Now, what is it that you're making? So you had bread. Bread is mostly your thing.
Banana bread.
Yeah.
Banana bread. Yes, all-time favorite. I don't eat bananas fast enough, so.
I do. It made me very popular in college.
Lots of things made you very popular in college.
They got me onto red carpets. I can't even go into it. But let's talk about then, as we get older, like I know when I was visiting my grandma in the home and they would play bingo at 6 o'clock and then we would go back upstairs to her wing or whatever you call it. And by 7:30, it was like lights out. You'd almost think that, you know, what happened? Was there a bomb scare or something? Where did everybody go? No, they're already sleeping. How late do you sleep in on a good day?
Oh, I don't like sleeping in.
Why?
No. Well, you have to grab every moment. I mean, you sleep in and, wow, that's no good. You missed part of your day, right? You can't do that. You've got to get up with the birds and get out there.
Okay, so can you answer the question then, or no?
Well, I don't sleep in. I don't.
But on a good day, how late do you and hubby just sort of roll around in bed before?
Oh, he sleeps in. I don't sleep.
Okay, so let's say it's a Sunday and you're not called into the bakery shift. What time are you sleeping in on a Sunday? What time do you wake up on a
7.
Sunday? Oh my God.
Yeah, today I was up at 7 and Yesterday I was up at 6:30, and yeah. And then I start cooking and baking and, be productive.
Earning your place in the house is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a few pounds to lose, unfortunately.
So the bread every other day probably isn't helping.
Yeah.
All right. You know what I find, though, and you know what I've started to do, because I know I texted you a picture the other week, is on a Sunday night, what I like doing, I will go upstairs, I'll take a big either salad bowl, ice bucket, something, and I'll take my cheap little bottle of champagne and a carton of orange juice.
Bowl. You have a salad bowl?
No, this is, well, I think it's somebody bought it for me, I'm sure.
You never eat salad.
So Caesar salad is my favorite. Hello, that's what everybody made fun of me at restaurants for. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Mother.
Go ahead.
I will, on Sunday nights, I will go and take my cheap bottle of champagne and my orange juice, and on Monday morning, when we eventually wake up, 10:30, 11 o'clock-ish, I will have a mimosa in bed. There's just something that's so lavish and so darling about it. I don't know. That's my new thing.
Oh, my goodness. It's coffee in bed you're supposed to have to wake up and greet the day.
No, I don't drink. I've never had a sip of coffee in my life. So for me, it's never.
You haven't. Boy, you don't know what you're missing.
But come on, doesn't that just seem like a Hollywood lifestyle kind of a thing? It's like, I'm just going to roll over, there's my ice bucket, and I'm going to have a mimosa Monday morning.
That's a Jeremy Bradley lifestyle, if I ever heard of one.
Okay, so let's talk day drinking, because you said that the okay time for you is 3-4 o'clock, but come on, you've been to Hawaii. I've been on one of those boat cruises in Mexico. They give us like a Jell-O shot at 9:30 in the morning, and I remember the first time that I did that, I remember feeling like, this is too early. You guys can't have a shot this early in the morning. But when you're vacationing or when you're traveling, you just got to go and say, you know what? Let's just have a shot at 10 in the morning.
No, I can't. If I did that, I'd be sleeping at 10:15. Too early.
So day drinking, now this is something, again, going back to my grandma at the home, and when I would go there for a bingo night, like I said, it would start at about 6, but sometimes I'd go 3-4 o'clock. We'd do a puzzle in the afternoon, whatever it was. I remember my mom and my aunt, they would be texting me as I was there, and sometimes I'd go with a bottle of wine, or she liked her Crown Royal, right? We always Crown Royal and Coke. And again, when you're 90 in a home, you know what? You want to have a nip at 3 o'clock, then have a nip at 3 o'clock.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that, for sure.
And so how late do you stay up, though? So you're an early riser. So is your husband, from what I hear. But you're an early riser. What about...
Oh, dear. Oh, God.
How late do you stay up?
That's bad. That's bad.
How late do you stay up? I know you love your Elvis movies.
Well, it depends on how many Hallmark movies I have recorded. And I'm way behind right now.
Oh,
so
dear.
I'm up late. Sometimes, midnight, 1 o'clock.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay, so you're not on home hours then, 7:30, 8 o'clock.
No.
Okay.
Not in your life.
But come on, go back to the mimosa thing though. Doesn't that just kind of seem like you don't have anywhere to go on a Monday morning, not much to do. Let me just have a bit of a fizzy kind of drink, and I'll scroll through emails and I'll reply to you guys or whatever it is. But I don't know. I don't like getting up. Here's my thing. Back when I was working, in the retail game or whatever it was, and you got to wake up at 6:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and your day just starts so fast.
True.
You just hit the ground right. Like I remember there were times I would wake up at 6:15. I was out of the house by 6:45. Like that's so rushed. I've got to wake up, feed the dogs, shower, get dressed. I just like easing into the day now.
Well, see, that's where coffee is like mimosa. Come on, that just kind of ruins your day.
No, it makes mine better. On a Monday, again, I'm saying on a Monday. I'm not doing this every frickin' morning.
Every day's Monday for you.
Well, it can be. It is. All right. Let's talk about the old days then, because I mentioned about like your Elvis movies and things like that, and I've sent you a few texts or links to YouTube videos of Grease or some old songs from back for your generation, not mine. I'm too young, but that's something that I really got into was when my mom gave me a box of stuff from when I lived, with my parents 13 years ago. I had the cassette tapes. I had a whole bunch of things. One evening last week, I just put on one of these tapes, and I found like the soundtrack from the school musical that I was in, and I remembered almost every word from all of the songs. Like, it had been a long time since I'd listened to these.
Isn't that funny how that happens? Yes, I know.
It just takes you back. And so...
Right. And how can you remember all those words to all those songs years and years, decades later? Like, it's amazing. They're ingrained.
I wouldn't say decades, but yeah, I mean, it was a while ago, and so...
Well, for me.
And that, well, right, because yours was Flintstones, Meet the Flintstones, but I think that...
I love that show.
The really cool thing, though, about, at least with YouTube anyway, right, is that if you get a song in your head... I had Peppermint Twist in my head the other night, and I know you know that song. And then YouTube gives you all those suggestions, on the side or beneath, like, oh, here's another old song you might like. Here's another song. And now I'm 3 hours into my, when I just wanted to listen to the one song, and now I'm listening to the entire oldies soundtrack from American Graffiti. You know that movie.
Oh, yes.
So what about just taking a walk down memory lane? How often do you do that?
Oh, pretty well daily.
From what you can remember.
It's funny you mentioned the Elvis Presley, the old movies, the old songs. A couple of days ago, we were watching Follow That Dream. And what a crazy movie. I just laughed all the way through it. It was funny. And he actually plays a fairly serious part, but it was just funny to see how different things were back then compared to now.
Your big thing is about watching the old sock hop and nobody's wearing masks.
Yes, exactly.
You know what else? So just on the subject of the school, like musicals and plays or whatever, what I then started doing, I was in a show called, it was a school thing. It was called Music Moves Me. And it had Rock Around the Clock, Sunrise, Sunset, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and then... Would you like to swing on?
Word. That's good. I didn't think your generation.
3 mimosas in, and but there was something about doing a search for, like, let's say I was also in Oklahoma. I was in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. So what I started to do was looking up other school musicals and to see how they compared to our presentation. So, I played Schroeder in Peanuts. And so I went and I jumped to the songs or the parts where there was a Schroeder. And then I was so tempted to start leaving comments and go, he was a little pitchy. Oh, your Snoopy isn't very convincing. I would do that. I would just destroy elementary school students. That's a good thing to do, right?
Terrible.
But it's kind of cool, though, to look and see, because, again, when you're in school, like, I didn't know that Music Moves Me was something that the school bought. Like, you buy the soundtrack, you buy the rights to it. I always kind of just thought it was our music teacher put this together, right? Like, you just don't understand this is someone else's play or this is someone else's production. And, now that you're older, and then you can, look it up or whatever it is, and I'm just like, wow, we had, like, the same choreography. We did those same songs, we did this, and... Ours was much better. We just had more money or something. I don't know. The kids were pitchy.
Oh, the good old days.
Were you in any school musicals and presentations, or you were more into the home ec, I'm guessing?
Actually, I was more into the home ec, yes. How about that?
See, everybody always thinks that I'm teeing it up for a joke, but sometimes reality is funny as well.
Oh, yes, it can bite, can it?
At the beginning, now, let's not get into your husband again here. Dirty woman. Before we wrap this segment up, when Corona started and everybody was sort of locked down and confined to their house, did you end up reconnecting with anybody that you hadn't spoken to in a while? Like, I thought... so again, going through Facebook or whatever, and I'm seeing people that I either went to high school with or that I had maybe, as a 13, 14 years old out at the lake, growing up as a teenager... And now all of a sudden we're having a group chat, or I'm just randomly video chatting with somebody at midnight, because it's not that we had a falling out, right? Your life just kind of goes in a different direction, and they have kids and you move on. And I had a whole bunch of just random video chats and reconnecting with people. So how about you? You do lunch with the gals every now and then when it's allowed with the whole Corona thing. But
Oh, sure. I did reconnect with a number of different people. And it was just wonderful. If anything has come of this pandemic, I think searching out people or being searched out by people you haven't seen in years and years, I think that's really a good thing. But that's the only good thing.
So I was going to say, wow, so she's praising coronavirus. That's only on this show would you hear that. All right, Bon, we're going to take a break. Well, actually, we're going to continue talking Corona right after this.
Oh.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Some break.
Well, there you go. That's how we start the segment, everybody. Bonnie Winter saying some break. She's...
It happens when you work with JB.
I hear the countdown that we're coming back. Bonnie doesn't. So, all right. So in the last segment, I teased that we're going to talk Corona here. I had my first Corona run-in with somebody at the store. Now, don't let me be clear on this one. I didn't get Corona. I just had my first Corona-related run-in. There we go. That's the better way of saying it. Okay.
Wow.
So there's this whole social distancing thing or physical distancing, whatever you want to call it, and the proper way to wear a mask. And we've all seen those viral videos of somebody getting confronted for not wearing a mask, which, you know what, at the end of the day, if you're endangering your community and your neighbors and, somebody should say something. Not to the extreme that we see, right? And often these viral videos, it's an aggressive confrontation, sometimes even physical. But Bon, what do you think? Should you say something to somebody when you're at the store and their mask isn't covering their nose like it should?
Well, everybody has their opinion on it, right?
Right, and I'm asking yours, so just cut to the chase.
Know,
Don't give me this. She thinks that she can do this big preamble and not answer the question. I'm going to circle right back around.
The thing is, no matter what you say, you're going to have someone out there, if not numerous people, offended. And I wouldn't say anything. I just keep on keeping on and don't worry about it.
Sure, right. And that's this. So I'm getting to a story, but that's the point, is that you are suddenly the bad guy for speaking up.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I'm in line. I'm in line at the store. And back when this first started, a lot of the stores had those little stickers on the ground to show you, where to stand, like little feet prints,
Yes.
And so now most of those are gone. But so I was in line, and I'm a regular at this place, so I know kind of the staff and what have you. But I was about third in line, and there were these two women, older women, probably about 50s or so, older than me. I mean, that's young for you. But anyway, so these two women were behind me. And they weren't talking very loudly, but their quiet talk could still be heard clear as day to me. So what I mean is, I think you're pretty close to me, is kind of, how I'm feeling and what I'm getting at. So I didn't want to just turn around. You know how you'll, in the movie theater or whatever, you kind of do that half turn to hope they get the signal. Like, you know what, you're kind of in.
Yes.
So that was kind of what I did, was I looked to the side and then looked down. They were about, maybe at best, 2 feet behind me. And And isn't it kind of weird that like a year ago that wouldn't have bothered us?
Right.
That wouldn't have seemed, like too close for comfort, but there was something about it. And they were speaking in Portuguese, and they were just kind of having their little low talk. And I was sort of inching forward to kind of, get away just for that own personal comfort thing. And then all of a sudden one of them started coughing. And when she eventually coughed 3 times, now I turned again to the side and I looked down at the floor and I just said, 6 feet, please. And then sort of motioned like shoe back,
Mm-hmm. Right.
And all of a sudden then, now they're speaking in English, right? So now I can hear them, and they're whispering loud enough for me to hear. Well, I don't think that he's 6 feet from the guy in front of him. Oh no, definitely not. That's much closer. And I thought, okay, a couple things. First of all, like I said, I'm a regular in this place, so I don't want to go and like cause a scene and have, a moment. And secondly, I'm also a media personality too. So if I'm going to be, but I don't think there's any way that you can spin it that it's like, oh, this jerk is just telling off these women or whatever. So I left it alone. I just said 6 feet. I said 3 words to them. 6 feet, please. That was it. And then turned around and just stood there thinking, hey, they'll get the picture. They'll get the point, which is back the F up. Instead, they took the time to just sit and bitch about me, or stand and bitch about me. And again, in my head, I'm going, you're the ones who aren't following the health order. Like I don't want to say breaking the law, but in a roundabout way, I guess, technically, you're essentially breaking the law. And
right.
So then I go up to the counter. There's 2 cashiers at the counter. So I go to the one, and then because they were right behind me, they were next in line. So they're at the cashier beside. And the debit machines are kind of in between the 2 wickets. And the woman had to pay. And she says to the employee, oh, can you move that over here? I don't want that gentleman to yell at me again for being too close. So again, here's how it spun. It spun that I yelled. I'm unreasonable. Meanwhile, anybody else in line would not have heard a damn word again, 3 words that I said. I wasn't loud. I didn't yell. It was actually quite discreet. I didn't cause a scene. But it spun that I yelled at them and that I flipped out at them and that it's just so bizarre to me.
Unbelievable. But isn't it the way things are nowadays? You deflect to get all the attention off you, right?
Well, and I wonder...
That's what people do who are, shall we say, breaking the law, so to speak.
Right, yeah.
They don't want the attention on them because they've done something they shouldn't have done. So, of course, they're going to deflect and throw it on you or whomever.
And that's the thing. So then I think about what's the story they're going to tell people later.
Oh,
right?
wow. You heard that already.
But do you know what I'm saying? So there's a part of me that sits there. I mean, maybe, okay, so if it was me, I would, like, if I was the one, like, behind the person, whatever, I would have just said, oh, sorry. Just a quick, sorry,
Right,
my bad,
right.
because I look bad. But then, like, when they went home later, and I don't know if they were sisters, I don't know their relationship, obviously, but, you go home and then you're going to recount it to your husband or your kid or your coworker or something. And
Right.
it's going to be, like, I wonder, though, what are the odds that they're going to process this and go, well, we actually were pretty close to him, and...
Oh, no, they're not ever
No?
going to do that. No, never. You can tell right away, just the way they laid out the story. That's how they perceive it.
Yeah, it was so bizarre to me, and so I thought that was my first... If they were... Now, again, if the rule is 6 feet, the rule is 6 feet. I'm not excusing that. And then, but I was also so tempted when she said he's not 6 feet from the guy. I was ready in my head. I was ready to turn around and go, because I'm inching forward because you're riding my ass. Right? Like, I'm moving forward because you keep getting closer to me. So the more you move up, I move up, and the closer I get to him. So now it's just a chain reaction is why I wasn't technically 6 feet from the guy, was because I was inching forward. Now, if they were just standing there and not talking and not coughing, then, and they were wearing masks, so it wasn't like it was just, I might have been okay with it, but it was the coughing all of a sudden. Like
yes. Oh, yeah, that kind of freaks me out.
Right, if I'm just standing there, quiet, not talking to anybody, just stand there, then fine if you're not 6 feet. You know what, I'll kind of let it pass. But now you're coughing, and you've been talking, and it's almost like I feel you on my neck, so I have to say something.
Goodness.
Like, it was just... Would you
could have been super spreaders. Don't you dare come into my office for the next 2 weeks.
So tell me,
JB.
well, that's fine. We've already cleared it out. But tell me though. So if you were in that situation though, what would you have done?
Oh, I still probably would not have said a word. I've learned over the years that there are just some types, and you get to know sometimes. I mean, I have been surprised, but there are times when you just watch the body language and facial. Well, of course, it's hard to see facial expressions with a mask now, right? But I don't like getting into any dialogue unless it's going to be a really, serious situation where someone...
Well, I'm sorry. Isn't Corona a serious situation?
Well, you know what I mean. Like,
well, I guess
maybe there's this little old elderly lady who just can't fend for herself, and people are going to, take advantage and so on. Then I'd step in. But, this sounds like, hey, they're not worth my time. So, and I probably shouldn't say that out loud because everybody's worth something, right?
Oh, here we go, everybody.
There are those who really get under your skin, and you know darn well if you start a dialogue, it's never going to end, and it's just going to escalate, and next thing you know, you have security wrapping their arm around your neck and getting you to the floor.
But I think that this is one of those scenarios. Like I said, we've seen all these confrontations or whatever play out on social media.
Yes, we have. And on the news, on
right.
TV, right?
Right. And how it can totally, like, it could be spun that I'm the crazy grown man picking on these, older women. But again, at the end of the day, it's like, you guys were the ones. It was you. Yeah. I wasn't doing anything. And if I just turn around and said 3 words, to feel comfortable, like, how am I the bad guy? But yeah, just they were a victim in this, and I was like, is this really happening? Like, you guys are saying that I'm doing something wrong for saying step back. It was strange.
I'm sure you've seen the meme, JB, that, I mean, sometimes you can't fix stupid. That's just the way it is, so don't try.
On that note, we'll be right back after this.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley back here on The Scribble. I have, barely a minute and a half. I got to tell you, some days I host the show from my house. Some days I host it from our studio, where we record, radio shows and other things. Today I'm in the house. And just before we went on, and I was taping those segments with Bonnie, I gave my dog a jar of barbecue sauce that I was done. I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep him busy because he's wanting attention today. Take this jar, go. And while we were talking, halfway through the show, all of a sudden I hear what I think is glass breaking. And I was like, did I just make a mistake? Like, what? And then he's got his back to me. He's in the living room hallway. And I can see from, where I'm sitting, I can just see his back. I can see that he's still at the jar. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to either come to, blood all over the carpet. He's going to be licking this broken glass, whatever it is. And so Bonnie had said to me during the break, she's like, that's why you never give a kid or an animal a glass, you give them plastic. And so there we go. Now, thankfully, I did quickly run and check during the break. There's no blood. I think I've got most of the glass, but we'll have to clean that up. So there you go. Lesson learned, everybody. Send me an email live@jbonair.com. Live@jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,